sounded so innocuous. She could feel the old anger resurface. How could she not? In addition to the lingering hurt, she still felt like a fool. The idyllic romance had fallen apart when she and Cole had returned. Michael had immediately guessed why she'd been miserable for days. It had been a no-brainer. Cole and his womanizing ways were legendary. "Try not to worry. It probably won't be as bad as you think." "I'm sure it won't be," she muttered. Then, rising to her feet, she walked swiftly from the room. But as she returned to her office, she could feel her teeth clenching. She couldn't believe it. She was about to be trapped playing nicey-nice with Cole and Jasmine. How would she get through it? Cole would be a major personality during the event, but Cole was a major personality, period. He was a producer with his own company, based at one of the major studios. His last 3 films had been box office bonanzas, and while he was famous for being an innovative filmmaker, with his square jaw, coal-black hair, and bright blue eyes, not to mention his tall, muscular frame, Cole Barrington could easily be a star in front of the camera. Closing the door behind her, she moved around her desk and sank into the leather chair. How could this have happened? Couldn't Rachel have waited until after the event to break her ankle? It was a stupid thought, but she couldn't help herself. And, closing her eyes, recalling the awful moment when she'd learned Cole was nothing but a jerk, felt like days ago, not 12 months. She'd been at the studio where his offices were located, and had impulsively stopped by with his favorite coffee and a donut. His secretary wasn't at her desk, so she had tapped lightly on his door and stepped in. To her complete shock, she had found herself staring at Jasmine Juniper. The young, buxom starlet had been unbuttoning her blouse and kicking off her shoes. Heart in her mouth, Paige had backed away, but leaving the door open just a crack, she'd peered in to see what would happen next. A moment later, she'd heard the sound of the shower in Cole's private bathroom, then his voice calling for the beautiful blonde actress to join him. "The water's hot, Jasmine. Whenever you're ready." She'd watched Jasmine pad barefoot across the thick carpet, peeling off her shirt as she did, then disappear through the door that led into Cole's private suite. The stories Paige had heard about Cole Barrington had raced through her head. He's a total Casanova. Look, but don't touch, not unless you want your fingers burned. Tears flooding her eyes as her heart broke, she had hurried away to hide in the stairwell. The week she and Cole had spent together had been nothing short of magical. They'd truly connected. Or so she'd thought. Clearly she'd been wrong. Very wrong. They'd been home just a couple of days, and he was already back in Jasmine's arms. On their flight home, she'd convinced herself that Jasmine, and all the others, would be history. She'd been shocked and hurt and utterly distraught. A short time after that heartbreaking moment, she'd learned Jasmine Juniper had been cast in the starring role in Barrington Productions' next feature film. That had been the nail in Cole's coffin. In her coffin. In their coffin. He'd called a couple of times, and she might have called him back had she not seen endless photographs of him with Jasmine at various publicity parties. Paige had forced herself to come to grips with the fact that she'd just been one of the many girls he'd bedded. Nothing special. Just a week of hot sex on a hot island. Nothing more, nothing less. "Michael's right," she mumbled, as she stared out of her office window. "It's a miracle I haven't run into him before now. I'll stay cool, collected, and professional, and make sure he doesn't have the satisfaction of knowing he shredded my heart into 1,000 pieces. He'll never know, not ever, the bastard." A knock on her door announced the arrival of the files from her colleague's office, and as she began to peruse them, she found herself getting annoyed. Rachel's organizational skills left a lot to be desired, and after an hour or so, Paige decided to take the work home. She was out of sorts. She needed to make herself copious cups of tea, scan and upload certain documents, and start packing. Placing the manila folders back into their carry box, she threw her briefcase in with them, donned her coat, and started down the hallway. But as she approached the reception area, she paused. The unmistakable aroma of an expensive European aftershave wafted around her nostrils. It couldn't be. Cole Barrington never came to them. Michael always visited him at the studio.